the time. We just don't do it live.
We talk exactly. We just don't talk in front of the world. Right, exactly. All right. So in theory, we are live right now on YouTube. I am Hope Martin of Hope Martin Artists, trying to spread inspiration and motivation on the internet. And I have with me today, Marta Ferguson.
I am Marta Ferguson of Marta's Magical Mystery Class and Marta's Sci-Fi Seminar.
I had no idea you had 2 YouTube channels. You've been keeping secrets. I don't like this.
Yeah. No. I forget how fabulous I am. And
I guess, right. Oh. So here we are. Let's see. So that's brief intros. I never know exactly what to say as far as an intro. It's like, I'm just me. I don't know. I do art because if I don't, I go crazy. Let's see. Stephanie Dorman is here. Hey, Stephanie. How are you? There's Stephanie. Hi.
And the fancy comments feature.
The fancy comments feature. Oh, I didn't do our banner, did I? I should do, what would you like to see on the ticker? Marta. It still says Marta. How about welcome? For now. We can change it later, right? Right. There it goes. All right. So go back to comments because apparently there's, yep, Stephanie says howdy. So I guess the big thing here is our interpretive work that we've been working on. I love what you just sent me today, Marta. Oh my gosh, I got goosebumps. I was like, oh, this is so cool.
Oh, good. I'm so glad.
I love it. So you mentioned maybe wanting to read it. How do we want to show the art? Read it first? I guess based on, Stephanie, I'm glad you like that banner, Stephanie. Thank you. We're learning StreamYard. Sorry. Yes. I keep wanting to call it SteamYard, which obviously is what it's a play on. But let's see. Should we start with the originals and then do the interpretations, or
we can do that?
I didn't really think about that. This is all on the hoof here. So, what do you think?
Let me see. Give me just a sec.
Yes, I can. Let's see. I can share. Let's see. I can share and show what you interpreted, which was the green for my sketchbook. Yes.
Actually, I think I ended up
with the blue.
Several of the sketches.
It seemed like you included. So maybe I can show the tab while you read.
Okay.
That sounds good. So let me switch over here to my Chrome tab.
Okay.
The photo in the Casper Nature Guide, which I love. So there's the blue and the green, hopefully you're seeing, of my Moody Woods that kind of happened kind of by accident.
How very cool.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. They're simple, or they're quick to do, somewhat quick, a few hours. And that black paper makes it easy to develop since you really just do the highlights and some of the midtones, and the darks are already there. The rest is left to the imagination.
I really enjoyed watching your video of how you created the Moody Woods.
That's right. The blue Moody Woods is up there on YouTube. So I will put that link up, Marta, if you want to read.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay. So we've introduced ourselves a little bit. We're kind of dropping you all, Stephanie, and any of the rest of you that are joining us now or later. I'm Marta Ferguson, author of Demeter West and the Ghost Town Glitch and Demeter West and the Absent Presence. They are paranormal cozy mysteries, and they take place in a very paranormal fictional place called Casper, Missouri. The bits and pieces Hope and I have been doing back and forth this summer, I've started writing side bits that probably won't make their way into the novels, but that are helping me with the world building of the novels. So you're going to get some excerpts from the Casper Convention and
Oops.
Visitors Bureau, Ghostly Plant Guide, and Ghostly Wildlife Guide tonight. This, Hope is showing you her Moody Woods sketches. Are they sketches? Are they pastels?
They're colored pencils.
They're colored pencils. Okay.
Yes, in a sketchbook.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is what I wrote in response to Hope's Moody Woods. Casper Convention and Visitors Bureau Ghostly Plant Guide. Welcome to the CVB's Ghostly Plant Guide. If you're visiting our city, you've probably noticed that we have some residents who aren't all there. Like New Orleans and a few other haunted cities, Casper functions as a cosmic nexus. According to our physicists and other paranormal experts, Casper is a thin spot where the boundaries between parallel worlds are more visible, if not more permeable, than they are elsewhere. This means that we see a lot of ghosts here. It can be disconcerting at first, but keep in mind, such visions have no substance. They can't hurt you. You're safe with us. Sadly, you also won't be able to capture all our wonders on film. Sketching, painting, and other artistic interpretations of our ghostly visitors are encouraged, and our tour schedules are set up around such opportunities. Bear in mind, our ghosts are shy of the limelight, so most of them can only be seen after dark or in particularly dark or shady spots, indoors or out. Those of you in our certified haunted hotels know what we mean. As part of our mission at the CVB, we want to make your visit here as enjoyable as possible. To that end, we are constantly compiling and updating our records on favorite ghostly manifestations from other universes. We have a catalog of other known universes that Casper residents have encountered, with descriptions of frequent visitors from those universes. That's a really big book. So we have this guide for ghostly plants and its companion for ghostly wildlife, as we know many of you who visit are ardent birders or gardeners and may not be interested in an encyclopedic approach to the nature of nature in Casper. Not all of our ghostly companions can be seen all the time, and some appear more often than others. The list below will give you some of the more common examples of ghostly plants you might see around town. Each listing will give you the name our scientists have given it says creatures, it should say plants in question, their most likely universe of origin, and any relevant tour information. Enjoy. Feel free to ask your tour guide any questions. So this is the fictional ghostly plant guide for Casper. I'm now going to read you the fictional entry for the Moody Woods. Name, Hollings College Bridle Path. Universe of origin, Moody Woods Universe. Tour information. Walking tours organized by this office at dusk on Friday nights from May to September. Horseback tours can be arranged through the Hollings College stables. Contact information is provided in our list of partner organizations. As many of you know, here in Casper, we call our visitors from other universes friendlies. Most friendlies give off a soft blue glow, and sometimes that's all you see. However, most of the time, when you're seeing into one of the various parallel universes that intersect but do not interact with our Casper, you'll see that universe as though it were real, but translucent blue. If you try to put a hand through or walk through one of our friendlies or one of the landscapes or buildings sometimes visible, you just go through it. And yet sometimes there are places that don't behave according to even Casper's tentative norms. The Hollings College Bridle Path is one of the places that doesn't follow those rules. Even in daylight, the Moody Woods tend to remain dusky. The trees we can identify all appear to be deciduous, a mix of primarily maples, birches, oaks, cypress, and locust. The light visible in the Moody Woods changes regularly, blue, green, even red or yellow sometimes. Challenging for both horse and rider, hiker, and random squirrel is the fact that there are indeed trees in the woods that are physically present. Then there are trees that appear to be there but are insubstantial, shimmering into our visual spectrum from their own parallel universe. And because the lighting changes, It's not always clear which is which. As a consequence, horses that train on our bridle path are uniquely steady and given to trusting their riders for cues rather than their eyes. Riders and hikers enjoy the challenge of finding their way through the moody woods, as though they were an ever-changing maze. Small creatures, presumably from the Moody Woods universe itself, frequently appear at the edges of the path. Many claim these dark cat-like beings are guides who will get you safely through, but folks experienced with the Moody Woods will tell you they are tricksters and given to pranks. Sometimes clusters of other small lights appear. Fairies, fireflies, certainly unique creatures on about their business in this magical forest. Tours of the Moody Woods are open to all ages, but walking sticks are highly recommended, and those with visual impairments or mobility issues should speak to their guides about our adaptive tools and strategies.
Yay. I love it. That's so cool. That was awesome.
These have been so much fun to write, Hope. Thank you for
Oh, wonderful.
suggesting we collaborate.
Yeah. It was something I'd been thinking about for a while. And I kept putting it off and putting it off. I was like, no. I need to at least make the suggestion and, get on your busy schedule. And so when you were right away like, yes, let's do this, then cool. Let's see. Stephanie has a question. I'll put up there. Hollings College Bridle Path. Am I hearing that correctly? Just checking.
Yes. Hope has experience as a horsewoman. I thought that little bit of terminology might appeal to her also. A bridle path is a horse path. And of course I'm seeing it in text rather than, and you're hearing it. So it's not bridle, B-R-I-D-A-L, but bridle, B-R-I-D-L-E.
Yep, and Stephanie just put that on bridle or bridle, so good catch.
Mm-hmm.
Stephanie has another question. Are you working the Moody Woods universe into the Demeter West stories, Marta?
I suspect anything I end up cataloging this summer, and I'm just kind of stepping back and doing some bits and pieces like this right now, will probably show up somewhere in the future of the Demeter West books.
Very cool.
Right now I'm going to grab a cord for my Mac, which is giving me dire warnings.
Oh, goodness. Go for it. Go for it. Thank you for this question, Stephanie. That's helpful, because when I first heard it too, I'm thinking bridal, hearing music, but then I was like, no, bridal, not bridal. That was, and she sent it to me just today, so I got to read it this afternoon, and that was really neat to have something I've done reflected so directly in writing. With some of the other interpretations, it's all loosely based, which is great too. But to have it so directly referred to, it's like, oh, that's kind of neat. And she's back with power. Whoops.
Yes, my Mac has stopped threatening me. That's really good.
I don't like it when they threaten. It's not fun.
No.
All right.
So yes, those were Hope's original pieces, and then that was my response to Hope's Moody Woods pieces.
And I've got, is it up here? Where is it? Yeah, I do have one. Well, that blue one, and I didn't get a picture of it, that I've been trying to play in pastels. So you mentioned the lights.
The extra little lights.
The extra little lights. I was like, oh yeah, I did. That's when I remember, I did that. Eventually, I would like to do those in pastel to see if I can capture some of the more nuanced changes in value. That with the pastel, with the colored pencils on that paper, there's only so much I can do, and then it's done. So that's kind of, that limitation sometimes is helpful. And I don't just fiddle and never go anywhere. Yeah. So that's eventually I'd like to do more of those, and eventually maybe we'll do more of these and end up with an entire illustrated guide. Would that be cool? We haven't really talked about that, so I'm like going, should I say something? Because I think that would be fun.
Absolutely.
So maybe that's a future thing.
Yep.
All right. Now that was the first leg, I guess, or part of it, because that
Right.
was my original and your interpretation.
Yes.
And then you gave me a page, or you sent me your writing on one of the birds
Mm-hmm.
of Casper's Ghost Tree universe.
Mm-hmm.
And I did my interpretation of that, thinking that you're trying to put in my mind that I was an artist at this thing, trying to do a sketch.
Mm-hmm.
It took me, the one I showed you, it took me about 4 tries. There was the test in my sketchbook.
Mm-hmm.
Then there were 3 tries on paper until I got something that I felt, okay, maybe this is close enough. 2 tries. And then I did it a 3rd time.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to seek inspiration from deep sea creatures
Ooh,
for the,
hey. Yes,
just,
yes, that kind
I
of
felt I
floating.
kept doing it too much color. It looked too solid,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
wanted it
Yeah.
to look more like you were describing, or like I was seeing in your descriptions.
Mm-hmm.
So should I go ahead and show that, or you want to read it first?
Why don't you go ahead and show it, and then I'll read, since that opening kind of boilerplate from the visitor's guide is going to be very similar.
Yes.
From the wildlife guide and the plant guide, I'll probably skip that bit and just read the entry for the beautiful bird you're about to show us.
All right. Let me see if I can make that appear. Doo-doo.
Oh, there it is.
There is the Casper orapendula.
Mm-hmm.
Was it? Oh gosh, Saracolius Montezuma Casparius.
Mm-hmm.
Ghost Tree Universe. Adult. I drew the male. I tried to, in some of the other iterations I can show you, I tried to get more of the other things, almost like a page from a nature guide.
Right.
And it wasn't working. So I went with just the male, and went with kind of the blues and purples, almost ultraviolet kind of colors. And that was what I saw in some of the deep sea
iridescence along the back.
Yeah, trying to capture a little bit of that. It's close. It's really hard on this paper to get too much because it is so dark, and there's only so much pigment it will accept.
Sure. That's
a bit of a challenge.
So gorgeous. So those of you who are joining us either live this evening or who are watching this record as a recording, Hope and I have known each other a good while, since our kids were little, and our kids aren't so little anymore. And we have both previously participated, and here we're going to clap for Diana Moxon and the Columbia Art League. We're going to clap. Oh, we're going to clap.
Yay!
We have both previously been part of Columbia, Missouri, Columbia Art League's interpretations program that ran for about 5 years, where artists and writers were paired up to do just what we're doing now. Submit little bits of writing, submit pieces of art, and then trade, and then write from one another's pieces as an ekphrastic exercise. This whole—
I love that word.
Ekphrasis goes way back.
Like I had no idea.
And it means making art about art. It's about being inspired by one form of art and translating that inspiration into another form of art. That can be music, that can be writing, that can be painting or sculpture or performance. So it's a method of creative synergy that goes back a long way. So it was really neat when Hope suggested, hey, you want to try this again? Like, yeah, I could use a little jump start this summer. That would be
and we actually had one of the interpretations rounds where we were paired, which was so cool.
Secretly, you didn't know.
Secretly. I didn't. You knew. I didn't know.
You had to come to the opening, and then you could find your mysterious art partner, your mysterious writing partner. So that was tremendous fun.
That was fun because I'm like, why is it quinoa? So now every time I make quinoa, I think of you, Marta, because her original submission was about quinoa and making it, and there was mentions of a glass of wine in the evening and that kind of thing. So that was fun. I happened to mention it. She's like, "That's mine."
We weren't supposed to tell.
It's a secret. Nobody tell. That we knew ahead of time. But it was much fun.
Uh-huh.
I find them very, a bit stressful. At least the first one I did, I was so stressed because you feel the pressure to perform and do something clever and amazing and cool, and that's hard on demand, you know.
Yeah, there's a unique set of stresses to working on demand, but there's also a freedom to working on demand like that because you're not starting from scratch.
True, true. But
So,
and then you can also think, okay, really whatever you do is going to be okay.
mhm,
You want to at least have the goblins, the mind goblins that
uh-huh,
plague you, to at least placate them a little bit and go, okay, I'm going to do what I can do, and then I'm going
mhm,
to turn it in, let it go,
yeah,
get it done, and turn it in. So
yeah,
I've over the iterations that I've done, I've grown to like it more.
mhm,
So yeah, and
mhm.
then I was very happy they're doing it. Cal is doing it again this year.
Well, good deal.
So yes, I'm working on my interpretive piece for that now.
Good to know.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting.
Yay, yay, yay.
Yes. All right. So
Okay, so I invented to go in to give hope something to work from, and then to give myself some context for the Moody Woods. I invented these uh, wildlife and plant guides, and I'm actually thinking this encyclopedia of intersecting universes. I might need to write some entries for that
yes.
too, because one of the things I'm struggling with in the current Demeter West universe is a novella that requires me to really spend a lot of time in one of the other intersecting universes. And I'm trying to really wrap my head around that shift in setting. The character, the point of view hasn't been difficult, but moving the setting that radically is proving to be a challenge. So this has
Hmm.
really been neat for me to be able, this is giving me a little way into exploring some of these other universes that intersect our Casper, as it were. So here is the ghostly wildlife entry for the Sarcoleus Montezuma Casparius, universe of origin, the ghost tree universe. Tour information, campus ghost tour Sunday night, sketching hour Sunday night. Times vary seasonally depending on sunset. Okay, and it disappears on me. Ha. The Sarcoleus Montezuma Casparius, more commonly known as the Casper or Pendola, frequents the outer reaches of the gigantic cypress on the university campus known as the ghost tree. These beautiful birds tend to nest about a story or so above the ground, so dark-adapted binoculars are recommended for detailed observation. If you book the campus ghost tour on Sunday night or the ghost tree sketching hour after, you are likely to see these magnificent flyers. Offered as proof of the many theories supporting environmental drivers for the evolution of similar species in different locations, these ghostly oropendolas bear a strong resemblance to their cousins here in our universe. Like our oropendolas, the male birds are larger, about 25 inches long, with the females nearly half that size at about 12 inches in length. Note that the Casper oropendolas have even more difference in size between males and females than do our native oropendolas. We believe both genders of Casper oropendolas have colorful heads and beaks, dark bodies, and lighter colored wings and tails. Given their translucent nature, such details are hard to determine. You'll have to investigate for yourself. Of note with Casper oropendolas is that both male and female birds display increased wing size and more developed musculature throughout the neck and back than do their cousins in our universe. Both species of oropendola somewhat resemble species of seabirds who dive for prey and must be able to navigate in air or in a few inches of water to hook elusive fish. But that tendency is more pronounced in the Casper oropendola. In the ghost tree universe, gravity is lower and the atmospheric density is higher. So the birds in the ghost tree are swimming through the air as much as they are flying through it. The bugs they eat tend to be larger as well. A last short note on the Casper oropendolas is about their amazing nests. Their cousins here in our world build hanging nests of mud and grass way out on the most fragile branches to keep predators away. That's why the female birds must be smaller. Due to the unique nature of the ghost tree universe, the nests of the Casper oropendolas float as much as they hang, more like egg sacs than nests. The mother birds must tend them most delicately. The nests also serve to incubate and contain the fledglings so they don't float away. We generally see a nice hatch for a few weeks each summer, 1 or 2 babies per nest. Seeing a clutch of Casper oropendola fledglings emerge from their nests, almost floating away in their feathery lightness, is a real highlight for any Casper visitor, birder or not. Ask your tour guide for more information on the timing of this phenomenon.
Very cool.
Yeah, at the very beginning of the first Demeter West book, I've got that prologue where Demeter's talking in first person about working for the Casper Convention Visitors Bureau to kind of make these case notes, put together some of these more interesting things that have happened in Casper. But I really haven't gotten to settle into that official CVB tour guide voice. There's always that kind of wonderful brusque, our certified haunted hotels,
I love that.
Never traveled, anywhere touristy, that voice,
I wonder who gets the job of certifying.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. See, that's a whole other. Probably Steve and Gary.
That's what I was thinking. I was wondering if it was Steve and Gary.
Yep. That would be Steve and Gary of Evil Steve and Scary Gary's Vanishing Act, one of the many Ghostbuster,
yes,
also kind of ghost expert companies that are part of the cultural landscape in Casper. So,
wow.
Fun. Yeah.
I have a question, Marta. When this is kind of maybe relates a little to process in this with this project is, well, I guess what is your process? I mean, when you writing is such a mystery to me. Totally, I can make you a picture of it, but writing words about it, oh my gosh, I think I'd die. Is it just all tumble out perfectly, or do you have a process you follow?
To an extent, the project determines the process. Something like this, I feel like, again, what I'm really after here is trying out this officious tour guide voice. I'm really invested here in this voice, and then I'm pulling in these kind of bits and pieces of other things in this voice. And I'm also, as I said, one of the things I'm struggling with is how to unseat myself from our Casper, from the Casper that is going to feel so familiar, from Demeter's Casper, really, and be able to relocate myself so that I can work from one of these other universes. So this cataloging of what are the other places that intersect Casper and what are those places like. So I guess those are, that's less about the technical aspects of the process for me. That's more the philosophical aspects of the process. I'm really driven by those questions as I'm working these pieces, and I'm looking at your work. in the Moody Woods piece, and I'm thinking about pulling forward some of those gorgeous details. This little, I loved what you said about the little guide, and you can see, what you said in the Moody Woods video about the little guide that's there. And sometimes that guide is behind the trees, and sometimes that guide is in front of the trees. And I thought, boy, that is a trickster figure right there.
Yeah. And
This
that was such a last minute, or it was an afterthought. Someone, all these little things that you pull in. I mean, do you have those questions? Do you have them all ahead of time, or do you find them along the way?
Well, in this case, where we were giving each other something to work from, that's the jump point for me then in a project like this. With the other books, with the Demeter West novels, with the novella, it's one piece building on another at this point. So that's all pretty interrelated. But it's still about, for me, with longer bits like that, there's a big debate among writers. Are you a plotter or are you a pantser? So plotter is someone who outlines everything, fills everything out in like neat little squares, and you know exactly scene by scene, chapter by chapter, what's going to happen, and you've got your character arcs, and you've got your plot points, and you've got, it's like having every instrument in the orchestra perfectly tuned and making sure everybody during the rehearsal is, all together, measure by measure. That's the plotter approach.
Okay.
I've tried that, and I haven't finished the novels that I've written. Because once I'd done that part, there wasn't any fun anymore.
Right, it's all that. Okay.
I knew it was going to happen. The pantser approach is the flying by the seat of your pants.
Got it. Pants. Okay. I was wondering what the spelling was. Pantser, panzer. I'm thinking tanks.
Pantser. And just showing up the page and seeing what happens. Yeah. And then there's the kind of middle ground, and people have all kinds of terms for what that middle ground is. Because frankly, most writers operate somewhere in the middle ground. On my YouTube channels, actually, both channels are devoted to how you too can write a novel in a year. Or it amounts to about a year and a half by the time you've written and edited and are looking to figure out what you're going to do with it.
Wow.
But the sci-fi channel, everything, the advice is all science fiction specific. The mystery channel, things are mystery specific. And then everybody's got book recommendations also. Because I think you got to read to write. But yeah, I go into the plotter pantser thing pretty extensively in the outlining videos for those channels. So
sure.
Here.
Yes. Yeah, I'm in the process of watching your videos. Woo-hoo. Just for fun.
Really cool. I hope you're enjoying them and finding some great reading material.
Yes. And since I am a mother to a writer also she loves to write. Jessie loves to write. Oh my gosh. So I kind of pass on tidbits when it works in, sound like I know what I'm talking about.
Hope you were very gracious about, writing is so mysterious and I could draw it, but I couldn't write it. I've had to draw things occasionally to help illustrate what I was trying to get at. And I've had people ask if my stick figures are supposed to be people. I'm really in awe of what you do as well.
If it helps, if I had draw a person from pure memory, it would look like a stick figure as well, or a monster.
Yeah.
But I guess maybe we're kind of both do the same thing in different ways. In that I look for references. Like when you mentioned the Orapenda, the first thing I did was go look at one and draw that in my sketchbook. What do our Orapendas look like? And then kind of modified from there. So maybe you do kind of a similar approach, only with where you go do research, you read, you look, and then it all comes out. And then you modify and modify and modify and modify. Which is what I like about pastels, is that I can modify ad nauseum.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, that's
How
like,
much, when you're working, how much is it a matter of altering a single picture? How much is it a matter of reapproaching the subject matter multiple times in multiple pictures? Does that make sense as a
it
question?
does. It does. So do I go from a single reference, or do I have a composite reference? Perhaps I'm looking at different ones and pulling in different things. And it really depends on the project and my comfort with it.
Okay.
If it's a portrait, then usually, yeah, okay, I want to make this exact so that it's recognizable.
Mhm.
With the or a pendula, I went and looked at um, different poses, different images. Did it in the sketchbook, and then looked for inspiration in another bird, the osprey, because you talked about it. You're powerful. Ospreys have amazing wings, and they almost look like they kind of hug around each other, around their body, those
Mhm.
wings. And I tried to do that in some
Mhm.
of the first tries, to
Mhm.
try and mimic that and get that wing heavy physique.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
it depends. I think in the I'm more moving towards multiple references as
Mhm.
I relax into. I think get more comfortable and a little more confident.
Mhm.
Whereas before, in years past, it was I want to recreate this picture. This picture has captured my
Mhm.
attention,
Mhm.
and I wish to recreate what has captured me
Mhm.
from that single reference. And I think that can be good. That can be bad, in
Mhm.
that you're kind of you're limiting the artistic outcome to that one thing.
Mhm.
Whereas now I'll kind of do what I've heard referred to as a reference sandwich.
Okay.
So either you start with a reference, you draw it, and you may put the reference away and work with the drawing, and then you bring the reference back and go, okay, is there something that I can pull from the reference to add to it? Or you do it reverse. You start with an idea, sketch it, and then you pull in references and details from different things, and then go back. So whether your reference is the bread or the filling,
Hmm.
working from either direction. And I
Mhm.
saw that it was another YouTube channel, Stan Prokopenko. He
Okay.
has a great drawing or art channel, and he interviews lots of different artists. And it was someone he interviewed that
Mhm.
used that. And I was like, ooh, that's a neat, I like that analogy, that explanation, so that you don't just tie yourself to that one view, that one interpretation.
Mhm.
And I
Mhm.
think that kind of helps you relax and loosen up and be more creative.
Mhm.
Feel free to modify things, even if it's just a little bit.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. So, folks, I'm gonna let the cat out of the bag here and tell you,
Oh,
Hope and I are not winging it entirely this evening. We made a list of stuff we wanted
we
to
did.
talk about.
We did. And we've talked about a lot of it, 3 points on it so far.
We have. Um, Next is kind of inspirations and motivations. Do
Mhm.
you have a strong feeling about one of those directions that you'd like to take us in with?
Um, Inspiration is, well, either one. I guess to me, they really kind of go together. I mean, you can be inspired and not motivating, be motivated and not inspired.
Mhm.
And I think for me, it's become a game of, okay, where am I on that maybe that
Mhm.
spectrum of motivation and
Mhm.
inspiration, or maybe it's an intersection. I'm not sure which, like a more like a Cartesian graph thing. Anyway, and then dealing with where I am and not getting down on myself for where I think I should be.
Oh, yes.
So if I'm motivated but not inspired, like I want to sketch in the evening. I try to do sketches in the evenings, and
Mhm.
if I'm not inspired, then I just put pencil to paper, doodle, just let it happen.
Mhm.
And sometimes from that I will find inspiration while I'm
Mhm.
doing that.
Yep.
Other times, if I'm inspired and not motivated, it's like, okay, just set a timer, 15 minutes,
Mhm.
and 2 hours later I will look up and go, oops.
Mhm. Yeah.
So some of it is just showing up at the easel, at the sketchbook, and doing it as regularly as possible. I'm not one that operates well under, oh, I must do this every day at this time.
Mhm.
Give myself that grace of, okay, I'm in a lot of pain today, or I'm really tired today. Then maybe I just won't. I'll just give myself this
Mhm.
pass, and we'll regroup tomorrow.
Mhm.
And being that relaxed has helped me enjoy the process more. I think that's a big key for me, is that enjoying the process and not really worrying so much about that end result keeps me inspired, keeps me motivated. And then I found the end result comes out better.
Cool.
So.
Yeah, I have discovered, laying out the novels and this time through a novella, that, this idea that I have to be at this stage at this point, it's useful, sort of. What's not useful is when life throws you a curveball and you try to stick to your original schedule. Yeah. It was really good about not having expectations of lots of other folks this year during the pandemic, but I still had expectations of me during the pandemic, even after my husband was really, really sick, even after I had a vaccine reaction. I had these expectations.
Yes. Oh, yes.
And I'm realizing, no, I had to step back, let go, just kind of say, no, some other things are in the foreground right now. The writing just needs to be in the background for the next few weeks. And that's about the time you said, hey, why don't we try this? And I was like, terrific. This will be a great short project.
Something quick, something fun, something new. Yeah.
Yeah.
Turn on that excitement again. Yeah.
The big monolithic, I think, my background's originally in poetry. So for 20 years, I worked in little bitty pieces and then assembled those little bitty pieces into bigger books. And now to be working in big giant pieces that, big giant books that I have to break down into littler bittier pieces, but that still have a sequential relationship that's different from the relationship of multiple poems in the same book. Yeah, it's learning to give myself more grace, that I can take a break from the sequential stuff too. I can come back to this. It will all still be there. Yeah. And I make good notes, so I'll still remember who it's supposed to be about. Yeah, I freak out. I worry about these things. Like, am I going to remember what Casper is like? Am I going to remember what my main characters are? Am I going to remember what I was doing? Yeah, I will. I just have to trust that.
I'm seeing a comment from Stephanie, and I'm not sure. Stephanie, you mentioned sounds like morning pages. What's a morning page?
Way.
Okay.
Yep.
So I'm assuming, was that in response to the evening sketching, maybe? Is that okay?
That could very well be. Yep. And that just sense that you trust your own continuity. So whether you're plotting or pantsing, you're kind of okay. Thank you, Stephanie. Yes, Stephanie says yes. I find I do have a process now that I kind of follow, but sometimes stray a little from. Allow myself to stray from it. But then when I am feeling overwhelmed, and if I just trust the process, do the next step. And then when you're done, take a deep breath and do the next step. And that has really helped. When I'm this stress and overwhelm, and you just start feeling yourself starting to shut down creatively and mentally, or physically, all those things. Yep. And for me, it's easier with a bigger project when I'm in that project more regularly. When I've stepped back, as I have the last few weeks from a big project, then it's easier for me to get freaked out about all of this. Am I going to remember what it's like? Oh, God. Yeah.
You get that inertia, that stationary inertia that is like, what if I'm going to start? It's going to suck. That's the way when I haven't sketched in my sketchbook for a while. I'm like, it's going to suck. I don't want to do it. Then I do it. Everything works out.
Right. You start over and you rebuild the momentum, and you just have to trust it will be okay.
It's that pendulum, you're here and then you're here, and just rolling with wherever you are on that swing. And then letting it pull you back in.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yep.
And then figuring out also one of my goals this year, and one of the goals I do feel like I'm meeting this year is, for me, figuring out how to write a novel, this big thing, this write a novel, big thing. Um, but I'm an indie novelist, so that means I'm responsible not just to write the book, but to do all the production things for the book, and then to do all
Yes.
the marketing and the
Yes.
promotion things for the book.
Yes.
So my goal this year was to figure out some ways in which I could do both writing things and promotional things and not feel like I was doing only one or only the other. And I do
Mm-hmm.
think I've had some more success with that this year. I feel like I've been, like right now, more engaged in some promotional
Yes.
endeavors that
Yes.
don't feel like work, that
Mm-hmm.
also feel like creative and fun and play.
Yes. Yes. Play. Yes. That is part of my process is play.
Absolutely.
Very cool. I'm finding it interesting because I've talked to one of the projects I'm working on is doing a piece for another writer.
Hmm.
And, so she was talking about what her process. I'm like, it really doesn't sound all that different. The writing from the 2D art. I mean, there are differences, but the 50-foot or the 50,000-foot view seems very similar
Hmm.
in as far as the flow, the process of it. The research, you do a little bit of plotting, you do a little bit of along the way. Then there are I call them what ifs. What if I put a cat in there?
Hmm.
What if there are fireflies in that?
Hmm.
It sounds like maybe in writing
Oh yeah.
you do that too.
Oh yeah.
She
Being
was saying,
open to
yeah,
what
whatever.
wanders in.
Yes.
Hmm.
Little inspiration cat wanders in one ear,
Hmm.
drops a comment, wanders out.
Yep.
Hopefully
Yep.
it's a nice one.
I recorded for the first novel. I've also recorded an audiobook for that's available.
Yes. Yes.
And getting to, I mean, it's theatrical. The recording of an audiobook was this wonderful kind of solo theater
Oh,
production
wow.
that was its own kind of other dimension of creative process. And I remember, for some of the voices for the characters, I really stressed about how to do this and how to do this. And then there were a couple characters where I just opened my mouth and a voice tumbled out, and I was like, well, hell, we're going to go with that.
I love it. I love it.
So being open to those kinds of serendipities, when I'm frantically checking, did I record that? Is that on? Did I catch that? Oh,
Oh,
good.
yes. Check your recording settings before you hit record. Oh, that bit me this week. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You want sound and it's not there, or you want time lapse and you got real time. And then you can't get the file off your phone. Yeah.
Technology. Technology.
It is great, isn't it? It has allowed this though, so I guess it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Very fun.
Yep.
What do you have?
So,
Go ahead. Oh, no, after you.
I was going to ask, we've kind of talked a little bit about what's next. We've alluded to some things. We haven't talked directly
Mm-hmm.
about that. Do you want to address, I think I've seen in your videos, you've got a couple of commissions on the table, plus we're
Mm-hmm.
talking about continuing to go back and forth. You've alluded to working with another writer on
Mm-hmm.
some things. Do you want to talk a little bit about what's ahead for you as a working artist?
Let's see. The interpretation 6. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
working on that one. And it's going for. I'm using a slightly different process with this and both pieces in this round of interpretations, where I'm kind of tentatively calling it, sketching underground,
Okay.
which you're not really sketching it. You do a sketch and then use monoprint to transfer it to a paper.
Mm-hmm.
Develop a little more. Put pastel ground. It's basically like a transparent acrylic primer with some texture in it.
Mm-hmm.
Lay that over so it seals that underpainting, and then develop it on top. And it makes a very rough paper. It's not very even like some of the commercially prepared ones that I usually use, but it gives you interesting amounts of dimension that I had not anticipated.
Yeah.
So, I have to stray from the delicious details that I so love to consume and put on paper, because they're addictive, those details, and rely more on the form and the value, which I think is good. That really helps, because if you have the details, all the details in the world, if your form and values are not there, the details just they're just details. They don't support anything. So long-winded way of saying it, I think it will help overall. That's one project. The other one is a commission, and it's not an interpretation. It's more, she's a writer and she came in wanting this piece. And so that I'll be able to talk more about that in the future once that comes out and is all done. And then working on, keeping up with the sketchbook. I have the Patreon page, and I have some wonderful friends who have supported me over there. And that's another motivation I've got going right now is wanting to have everything in such a way that I can explain it and to them, so that, I feel like they're getting something. They're getting some bang for their buck there. And a lot of it, showing the sketchbook and keeping those going. I'm liking, or I would like to do something with that Moody Woods kind of series that's happening, and maybe the Adventures of Moody. I don't know if the cat can be called Moody, and some type of journey, a trip, something, going through different wooded kind of things with that tonalist quality to the landscapes. Lately, the tonalism has been capturing my imagination, and really being inspired by that. It's something I've seen before, but hadn't really given much attention to until recently, for some reason, and I really don't know why. It's one of those odd things that catches my attention. So that's really all of the current things. There's other projects that are kind of waiting in the wings, like the Raven series, that are based on that counting poem. 1 for sadness, 2 for mirth, 3 for a death, and 4 for a birth. There's so many permutations of that poem, and I think originally it applied to magpies. How many magpies you saw on your wedding day was prophetic. Well, since ravens and magpies are related, I thought I like ravens better. I think they're really a very fascinating bird inside and out. So I've gotten up to the 3rd one and kind of stalled, and then other things happened. So once all this dies down, I'm hoping to unarchive that and bring it back. So those are really, got a couple classes that are going to be happening soon too with Cal. Those will actually be in person now. Over the past year, they've been virtual, which has been great in a way that you'll be able to do that from my house and not have to schlep all of my gear downtown and deal with parking. So that was enjoyable. But now unless things change radically, I mean, there's always a chance that it may go back to virtual. But for now, the plan is to go in person next month. Do a pastel play class, and then a new class, pastel performance. So I've got kind of this 3-tiered approach that I've been teaching of play, pursue, and perform. So you play with ideas, you pick an idea, pursue it, and then think of it like a rehearsal. You're rehearsing for the final piece, and then just let it out. Relax and perform what you've learned. There'll be inspiration along the way, even in the final piece, new lessons to learn, but it all kind of builds along the way. So I'll be a first teach on that one. I'm kind of excited. I'm always nervous about it too. It's like, but how about you? What have you got going on?
Well, the novella that I've kind of set aside here the last few weeks is calling. Like, okay, maybe
it's time.
We're
going tap, 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 tap. It's time.
And part of that, you've talked about inspiration versus motivation. Part of that is that I'm feeling like maybe I see my way into what I'm struggling with a little differently or a little better now. So that's the inspiration piece. The motivation piece is purely commercial in that Amazon is starting a new program this fall where they're going to allow indie authors to, rather than launching their projects as a whole accomplished project, they are following Radish and maybe Smashwords and a couple of other indie platforms into this serialization. So they're calling it their Vela program, and I'll be able to release it rather than all at once for $3. I'll be able to release it in pieces, and then people will buy like tokens, and then they spend their tokens in the Vela program. And so it won't cost them, it'll cost them what, 50 cents or something to read a quarter, maybe, to read a chapter. But then I'll set up a regular schedule where the chapters will get released weekly or twice monthly, or it sounds like the scheduling piece of it is fairly open.
Interesting.
But I'm curious about how serializing a piece is going to be different than just releasing it whole cloth. And then I have the option at any point to pull it and do something else if I want to. So it sounds like they're trying to make it as flexible as possible for the participants, for the author participants. So I don't know, it's a different approach. They're trying to also set it up so that there's more engagement with readers. So I don't know. I think it'll be an interesting project. And of course, if you're one of the first folks to do this, it's more likely you'll be one of the folks that people choose because you'll be one of their few choices at the beginning.
Right. Yeah. You know, on it. Well, it's new and cool. Absolutely.
So that's the big thing ahead for me. I'm also continuing to do some writing and to do some editing. So I've got a couple of editing projects that will be on the table this fall. And we will see from there. Novel number 3 is on the horizon.
Yay!
Yeah, but this prequel is kind of between me and novel number 3, and I think that might be some of my impatience with the prequel is that I'm very, I think, time bound. I want to follow this sequence, but I'm zipping back to do this prequel, and it's got to have its own space, and but it's keeping me from going forward in the 3rd book. So, working with some of my tendencies, working against some of my tendencies, because, growth involves both.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah. Yeah. It's that, wandering across that line of balance, Very cool. That the thing with Amazon sounds pretty exciting.
Yeah, I think the Vela program will be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I look forward to that. I'm looking back on comments, and Stephanie has left some more wonderful questions that I missed. And maybe, I don't know if we, oops, here we got the mouths now. We have to sit up straight because it's on there. I'm sorry. Are you planning to make pieces based on Marta's story? No. I was wondering if Marta would be interested in that, especially with this Casper Visitors Bureau plant and animal guide. Might be kind of fun to do a series of I don't know how many pieces, kind of playing on that and bringing some of these creatures and plants to life. So maybe we'll have to see how that works into schedules and that sort of thing. And maybe it's just a string of interpretations, more or less, where those, we can eventually collect them into something. And because there's so many print-on-demand places now, Redbubble and InPrint. Redbubble probably, well, I don't know which would be better. Anyway, there's a lot of in-demand, print-on-demand, where you just buy things with people's art on them, and they make it a little easier. So that might be, I don't know. we'll have to define that loosely and see where it goes from there. She had another. I think you answered this one about the Moody Woods universe into the Demeter West. I think we got that one. And the other one is, so I think it's definitely, we're thinking about it. This could happen. And then Stephanie had another one. Marta, will you tell us about the piece behind you?
Actually, folks, Stephanie, Hope, and I said, we've known each other for a long time since our kids were little. Our kids were all little homeschoolers together in Columbia, Missouri.
Yes.
The piece behind me, I don't know if the two of you remember, but for my 40th birthday, I bought this giant canvas. I bought a bunch of paint. I brought in a bunch of bits and pieces of fabrics and art supplies and sequins. And we turned about a dozen homeschool kids loose in a park shelter. Ta-da!
And that is the result of all that creativity. Fabulous. Oh, that's wonderful.
It's the backdrop I use for the YouTube videos for Marta's magical mystery class and for Marta's sci-fi seminar.
Very nice. Oh, how cool.
And the other night during the tornado warning, when we had all of the cats and the dog here in the office, one of the cats ate some bits off the painting. Because we're seeing some of those bits now.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's probably more than you wanted to know about the paint.
That's awesome. No, I love pieces like that. I've got a little piece. Is it still on my wall? Yes, it is. It's up here. Well, you should talk about, the kids you're with, kind of influencing. I taught a class, just a summer day class in Jeff City, and with high school kids, and one of them gave me this little necklace, a little washer necklace. So it's kind of up there, kind of when I'm not feeling, terribly good about myself or my abilities, this is kind of my talisman going, okay, we can do this, right? So I like little pieces like that with these neat stories
Think
behind them.
Leaving for the next generation.
Yes. Yes. Very cool. Well, I think I'm scrolling back through the comments. I think I got all of the questions. I wanted to make sure that we didn't miss any questions. I think we've pretty much gone through our agenda. I kind of left it open-ended because I wasn't sure how much we would talk or, what would happen. I guess it's, big thing is what's next. We talked about our personal what's next. Are we going to do this again sometime maybe? We can leave it loose. I don't know. We're kind of testing out SteamYard, so I'm not sure what the free account is going to do.
Yeah, we'll need to talk about that.
We need to talk about those. I think we could still use it
for combined live discussions, live streams like this, or
yeah. So, but it could be fun.
This one off in our
we did. We said we were going to do it, and by golly, we did it.
Thank you, StreamYard, for the free sample week.
Thank you, StreamYard. Yes. Thank you, Stephanie, for being here and having questions for us. That's such a big thing. I never really thought about before. Attending things like this is for the people doing it. Having some questions to answer. Otherwise, you feel like Bueller. Hello. You feel like you're talking to at least we've got each other to talk to here, so it's not quite so bad. But I know I do my studio updates every week, and I've started releasing those live on or publicly on YouTube. And so but I feel like I'm talking to myself because I am literally talking to myself and recording it.
Yep.
It feels very strange. But that's what I do. So yeah, it's all good.
I do the magical mystery class and the sci-fi seminar. I keep imagining this invisible students out there.
Yeah. to draw stick figures and put them up on top and put names under them and talk to them. You know, I've done that actually.
There you go. Whatever works.
Well, someone told me, a friend of mine told me that, you know, just imagine you're talking to, you know, what could be your audience.
Mhm.
And I need a visual up there, though. I can't hold it in my
Mm.
mind and think of things to say.
Mhm.
So I have to have a visual. I have to have a face or a stick figure, a blue dot. I don't know, something.
Mhm. Yeah, I think one of the classes I taught when I was in Missouri, I had to teach from an actual stage, and it was, you know, then there was the auditorium, and it was set up so that I could kind of see the students out there in the auditorium, but not really.
Huh.
And this talking into the camera feels a lot like talking into that auditorium where I can only
Wow.
kind of half see the kids out there. But I don't have to worry about falling off the stage here. So I like that better.
Yeah, I don't bounce anymore. I break
Yeah.
into all kinds of uncomfortable pieces. Look, Stephanie, thank you. Stephanie was in one of my pastel classes, pastel play. She said it was fun to be my student. So that's always good to hear, especially when it's a friend. And I find that a little more worrisome. It's like, oh, I hope they like it. I hope it was good. I hope they learned something. I hope they had fun. Because that was the whole point of the class, was to have fun.
There you go.
Really. And Stephanie's very good at having fun. She was an excellent student to have in there and with great questions. So I really appreciate those.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Well, it's been about an hour. Should we wrap this up? I think.
Sounds good to me. The cats woke me up early this morning, so I'm going to go to bed early tonight.
Yes, my ancient doggy has been waking us up at night. It's like having a baby again. Only it doesn't smell as nice.
Sometimes our baby did not smell very nice.
Well, there is that too. Stephanie says, I've been Marta's student too.
Yep. And you know, in the artist's way, that evolution from student to co-facilitator to just kind of journey companion is all part of the deal too. So
fantastic. That's something I'm learning. It's like it's all student, teacher, facilitator. It's all, you know, you kind of do it all. You experience all of that in the trip. You know, I learned a lot in teaching my class about pastels. I learned to do pastels better because I had to really be, I had to think about what I was doing and why I was doing it. And yeah, it definitely made me a better pastelist to teach it. And I'm finding that is not uncommon. So very cool.
Very cool. Stephanie, thank you also from my end for coming along tonight and joining us. Yay.
Definitely. And to anybody who's watching later, I hope you enjoyed it. We'll put links in the description to Marta's YouTube channels and links and mine as well. And yeah, if you'd like to see us do this again, one, let us know. And two, what would you like us to talk about?
Yeah.
You know, well, if we do more collaborations, you know, if nothing else, that we finish another collaboration, we will do a live about that as well. All right. Sounds good. Well, Marta, have a good sleep. I hope you sleep well tonight. And Stephanie, thank you for being here. And we will see everyone another time. All right. See y'all later.
Good night, folks.
Good night. See, click the right button.